are awesome today. All right, I'm Reverend Dr. Mary Mitchell, and a practitioner here and retired minister, and I'm here to introduce the Heart Sangha Choir, and be ready.
Good morning for Spiritual Living Reading. It's good to be here today. Today, the Heart Sangha Choir is very pleased to offer a couple of special offerings today. Not only the offering of the beautiful choir's voices, but also a buffet afterwards. So we've organized some wonderful dishes, and they're sort of for fundraising purposes. So if you come join us, make an offering. We can support the Heart Sangha Choir and other musical offerings and artists that come. And I'd like to welcome, additionally, a couple of new members. We have new members in our choir, and we so appreciate everyone that joins. We have Maggie over here, this side. Maggie, thank you. And Ruth. And Ruth on this side. Now we're going to sing a very playful song, All God's Critters. Sort of laugh. We're going to evoke some of God's critters at the end of the song, and we invite you to join us. You may hear, so at the end, you'll know, because all the cat will be out of the bag, so to speak. You may hear some chickens, bark, 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 and some little kitties, meow, 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 meow. We may have some coyotes, and we invite you at the end to bring your animal offerings, and we hope you enjoy. Take it away.
All of God's critters got a place in the choir. Some sing low and some sing higher. Some sing out loud on the telephone wire. Some just clap their hands, applause, or anything they got now.
Listen to the bass, it's the one on the bottom, where the wolf one croaks and the hippo on the bottom. Moan and groan, the mother thing to do. The old cow just goes moo.
Dogs and the cats, they take out the middle. The honeybee hums and the crickets fiddle. The donkey brays and the pony neighs and the old coyote howls. All God's critters got a place in the choir. Some sing low and some sing high. Some sing out loud on the telephone wire. Some just clap their hands, applause, or anything we got now.
Listen to the top where the little bird sings, the melody with the high voice ringing. Rudolph's always under everything, and the jaybird disagrees.
Singing in the night time, singing in the day. The little duck quacks and he's on his way. Possum don't have much to say, and the porcupine talks to herself.
All God's critters got a place in the choir. Some sing low and some sing high. Some sing out loud on the telephone wire. Some just clap their hands, applause, for anything they got now. Everybody here is part of the plan. We all get to play in the great critter band. The eagle in the sky to the whale in the sea. It's one great symphony. All God's critters got a place in the choir. Some sing low and some sing high. Some sing out loud on the telephone wire. Some just clap their hands or paws or anything they got now. All God's critters got a place in the choir. Some sing low and some sing high. Some sing out loud on the telephone wire. Some just clap their hands or paws or anything they got now.
That was just too cute, wasn't it? Now go home and sing that to your children. Aha, jump around like a chicken. No, that'd be cool. Oh, that was awesome. All right, we are a center that has a vision to inspire and empower people to live spiritually fulfilling lives. And I think we do that exceptionally well. And we'll be offering more classes first of the year and on through next year that hopefully will light that fire in you to dive even deeper into this incredible thing called science of mind, called religious science, called New Thought, because it is so life-changing. And right now, the practitioners in service today are Shirley Wade, Christy Carr, and myself. And we'll be available after service by the bell if you would like. We call it spiritual mind treatment, but it's an affirmative prayer, and it's very powerful. Right now, if there are any children here, we'd like to invite them up. And as they come, all right, great. We're going to sing, "You Are the Face of God." I would like to thank all of the people that came early to make this such a warm and inviting place, including the choir. You were here quite early. That's great. And we have Lindy on the sound team and kitchen cookies. Oh, the choir's doing the kitchen today. Excellent, excellent. And so Christy and I were here to open up, and we'll be here to close up. And we have Reverend Andy Torkelson as our guest speaker in a minute. If you have a cell phone, please turn it on airplane mode. That would be really appreciated. And we have a stewardship drive testimonial. And Doug, welcome down. Now let me share just a minute. Usually, it's a person that's been here 20 years. You've been here, what, a year?
I've been here since 21.
Oh, 2
after
years.
the lockdown.
Ah,
After everything
awesome.
opened up, yeah.
He's joined everything. He's taking classes to become a practitioner. He just dove right in. And I just want to thank you for standing up here and giving a testimony.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity.
You bet.
Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Doug Held. I was asked today to speak what the center means to me, or I guess some kind of testimonial. So that's what I will be talking about. Yes, I appreciate the opportunity to be here today and speak, because I really do enjoy the center. I guess it's like everything else. You need to know where you've been to know where you're going. So I guess I'll just to share a little bit of history about myself and how I got myself here to the center. I was born and baptized a Lutheran back in Illinois, and so that was pretty much the basis of my religion. Of course, when I was a teenager, though, then I had an accident. I fell off a 50-foot railroad bridge, so I nearly died. So when I was in intensive care for 3 days, I did a lot of praying, and so I recovered from that, and then I became a glazed-eye religious fanatic, because I figured that's just what things was about. But then after being a glazed-eye religious fanatic, I found that really didn't work for me, and so I pretty much changed to an agnostic, because I guess I wasn't an atheist, because I believed there was something, but I guess at that point I just became a blind optimist. So I was a blind optimist for a while, and then as time went on, I was in junior college, and I would hang out at the Career Center trying to figure out what I was going to be when I grew up. And so there I learned about a lot of positive thinking books with Hornaday, and it had, actually talked about the science of mind. And so I kind of thought that was kind of interesting, so I tried that. And then that was when I was in the Bay Area in the early 80s, so they had a thing called the New Age Awareness Fairs going on. And of course, I got all into that, buying my pyramid headgear, the crystals and the palm reading and all that kind of thing. But again, it didn't have anything to do with formal religion, because I was pretty much turned off by that. So then I ended up moving to the area up here in Redding in the early 80s, and then I found the Center for Spiritual Living. That's when I met James, and he went skydiving, so it's like, well, I got to do that, because that was a point in my life, as if it was risking your life and limb and dangerous, I had to do it. So so I was with part of the center in the early 90s, but then I ended up getting married and having a son, and then I left the church, and I raised my family secular, and I didn't do anything to show my son, about any type of religion, but just to do what's right, just a secular, an honest day's work for an honest day's pay, be truthful, treat people as you want to be treated. And, that seemed to work. He never asked me about God, and I never brought it up. Well, then, during the pandemic, my marriage, found out that the pandemic was what broke the camel's back. And so we mutually agreed to go our separate ways. So here at the end of the lockdown, that's when I came back to the church, because I figured since I was with the church before I got married, my marriage ended, so it was good for me to come back to find a sanctuary. So yes, I've been here since 2021, and just sitting back and figuring out, just like everything else, figuring out how it all's going to play out. So then, anyways, I've been doing all the services as part of the from what the center offers. And then, so in 2023, I figured I wanted to have my New Year's resolution was to be reprogram myself. Because I knew I was a good person, and still I had to figure out what the religious thing was going for me and all that kind of thing. And of course, after being married for 28 years and then moving on, I still had some unresolved issues. So I took a couple courses, and I really learned a lot. Mary's courses were great. If you ever have an opportunity to take some of those courses, I would highly encourage it. From what I kind of did learn, though, from my 2023 reprogramming, in summary, was, I guess we're mind, body, and spirit. Okay, I guess that's what we can all agree to, that we have a body. So what do? We go to a gym to work on our bodies, to make them strong and healthy and all that kind of thing. We have a mind. So we go to school to learn, to expand our mind, to take in the knowledge. So that's a good thing. And then we're spirits. Well, where are you supposed to go for spirits? Well, again, it was to go to the church. Well, then again, I was baptized in a more formal church, and it didn't work for me. I didn't understand it. All the Hail Marys and the gnashing of the teeth and the hell and the jealous God and the vengeful God, it didn't make sense to me. So, again, that spiritual part of what we are is neglected in some respect. I mean, it's not neglected, it's just we all come to terms with our spirit. Well, for me, I was fortunate to be, as part of the spirit, to have my spiritual development here at the center. And just like it says, empowering people to live spiritually fulfilling lives. So it was interesting. I read an article just the other day about the Associated Press. They were doing a study on the decline of religion in America. And now there's a group called the Nuns. And I guess I probably fall into that group. It's when you're asked what's your spiritual preference, people say now it's, well, it's not formal religion, but spiritual and not religious. And I like that. Because again, that's what I've learned through my studies. The problems that we have are mental traumas and things like that. It's a part of who we are, and we just have to work through that. And so the whole process is really not anything to do with religion. It's just how to deal with, your own mind, your own emotions, your own traumas. And so that's why I'm glad I'm here. Now I'm able to deal with my traumas, resolve them, forgive and let go, move on. And that's what life is. It's a journey. That's what I've learned. So that's why I'm glad that I'm part of the center, to where it provides sanctuary for me. It provides a chance for me to work the three parts of my mind, my body, and my spirit to be one whole person. Now, the skies ain't going to open up, and I've established that there's no person up in the clouds, determining what's going to be right or wrong for me. I have that choice. And so I want to take full advantage of the life that I have at this point on. Now, I'm still working. I'm not retired. But so far here at the center, I'm here for the Sunday services. I got the men's group. We as men, we were already told to push our emotions aside. Well, it's nice having a nice group now, men you can talk to and just talk about stuff. Women have it, but why can't men? So it's just one of those things that we as a society have to develop to do. Choir, we got the choir. So I enjoy singing, so it's fun doing that. Got landscape SEVA, so if you like cutting bushes and things like that, which I love to do, you can come over here and help. Just yesterday, actually. Got the Hatha yoga going, and again, that's touching my feminine side, I guess. I go to Hatha yoga. I enjoy it. You got the open mic night where you can come up here and sing and dance and do whatever you want. So, that's always fun. You got the music jam, the drum circle. I've been to a couple of those, and they're fun. You got the sword trips. So, hey, you get to go with people to go out and visit new and wonderful things. Next month should be good with the Abbey there in Divina. And then, of course, you got the classes with Mary. I have been invited to be on the board because apparently there's been a position open, and so I am going to take that position until there is the full voting come next spring. And so that'll be new, and I'm looking forward to that. And then we got the community events, because again, if you take religion out of church, what is the church is for? It's for community, to bring people together in their community. And that's what's nice about this center, is that we have those community events. And of course, don't forget about feeding the homeless and the Shoes for Souls, which when I do retire, I'll probably take on that program, because again, society looks to the religions or the churches to help those less fortunate, and the center does that. So again, do unto others what you have them do unto you. Pretty much a common theme that's even in the Farmer's Almanac. So you don't have to be religious to be spiritual. And so one of the articles I read this morning, the question of what is God, why is there existence versus nothingness? So I guess we can always ask that, but I thank you for your time and look forward to working with all you in the future. Again, thank you.
Doug, I'm going to be in the front row when you're ordained as a minister. Yeah. Oh, how wonderful, how wonderful. All right, now I have some announcements, and I will go through them quickly, but I'm going to invite Diana Wolfstead up because she better explains a couple of these than anybody else because she created them.
Morning, everybody. I just wanted to give you an update on the Nourishing Our Community event that's been going on. The bidding ended last Sunday, and the winners of the spots for the 10 events that were offered by hosts are out on the table. And we raised for our center $4,230.
So I have a table set up out in the foyer. I have an invoice for each of you who want a spot at an event. You can just come over and I can tell you what you owe and help you figure out how to pay. This Sunday and next Sunday will be the final Sunday to bring in the funds collected. So thank you for supporting that. And we're off to another fundraising event, our Fall Bazaar, which also involves community. Donations are due now. I'll be setting it up next week, and it'll be open for bidding next Sunday for goods and services that you can provide that would be an awesome gift for the holiday. Now, if you have a business, it's an opportunity to advertise your service, be it massage, Reiki, tapping. It's a time that you can get together with a partner and offer an item for auction, like 2 men in a truck, and offer 4 hours of cleanup in somebody's backyard for a price. And that was a super successful item. It could be a gift card to your favorite restaurant, or if you're a baker, it could be a pie or a quiche that you're offering for the auction. Just another way that people will buy that service and receive it from you. You'll get to know that person, and the funds benefit the center. So those donations are due now. If you have any questions, I'll be out there to answer them. And the only other thing I wanted to bring up is the endowment has piggy banks for adoption out in the foyer. Brings in quite a bit of money each year that supports our grant writing cycle that happens every year to improve our center with projects that benefit our community. So if you'd like to adopt a piggy, you can come see me, and the piggies will be brought back to the church on November 5th, full and fat and turned in. And we will have a pancake, pigs in a blanket, breakfast, some music with Dick and Nadine, and another fun community time. So thank you.
All right. Joan Richards is having her gong meditation tonight, 6:30 to 7:30. And Shari and Wyndham is starting a new watercolor class on Monday, October 16th, 9:30 to noon. Minimum 4, maximum 8 students. And Reverend Lynn is going to be doing a call to reverence Tuesday, October 17th, 6:30 to 7:30, to experience connection with the sacred through sacred music from diverse faith and spiritual traditions. She has been leading the Shasta Interfaith group, or she started it actually for many, many years. So she's going to be bringing some of those people here and doing a call to reverence across very many faith paths. They'll be really sweet. Soar, the Spirit of Adventure Renewed, Saturday, October 21st to New Clairvaux Winery, Vineyards, and Abbey in Vina. That is always a fabulous trip. Very, very wonderful experience. And the book club, Living Untethered with Robin Backstrom, that starts Monday, October 23rd, 2 to 4 in the afternoon. And the men's group with Roy Wolfstead, Monday, October 23rd, 7 to 9 p.m. All right, so now we'll have a reading by Lori, and invite the bell 3 times to take that reading in. And then I'll do a spiritual mind treatment, our affirmative prayer. And then we have Reverend Andy Torkelson. Now, Reverend Andy is a minister at the Chico Church of Religious Science. Is it Religious Science or CSO? Yeah, it's the Center for Spiritual Living. We all changed our names at the same time. And Andy is also a therapist at a center in Chico, kind of paradise almost, on addiction issues. And he's extremely good at that, just extremely good at that. And you'll know that from his demeanor and how he talks to you. So we're really, really thrilled to have him here. All right, Lori, start with the reading.
Today's readings is from the questions and answers section of Science of Mind magazine. What activities are recommended for spiritual growth? Regardless of what reading or activities we do, unless they result in a change of attitude, they can be a useless exercise. There are two activities that assist people in finding inner peace and a deeper connection with infinite intelligence. The first is non-judgment, the recognition that all people are doing what they think is in their best interest at every moment. There is no one to be saved, only a divine creation to be revealed. The second is seeing and knowing oneness, embodying and understanding that God created everyone and everything, and although we are individual beings, we are truly brothers and sisters. There is no us and them in God's eyes. Understanding oneness is the root of kindness and compassion. As Dr. Holmes writes, nothing can equal this attitude. Begin today. And that was written by Reverend Dr. Mary Mitchell.
Begin today. Oh, if you could embrace that this morning, that would be so wonderful. To embrace that there is only one thing going on here, and that's the full expression of God through each one of us. To embrace that you are so unique, one of a kind, created in love. And today, seeing all the issues in the world from God's eyes, which is hard sometimes, because it's ever revealing that love is the answer. Love resolves issues. And we can tell by all the news this week, we've got a little ways to go on that one as humanity, but we're moving in that direction. And here we encourage more movement and solidarity for all those in the world who are suffering. So I give great thanks to be here today in this wonderful group with this magnificent choir. Being in a community of love, respect, non-judgment. What greater place to be when we try and work hard to see everyone on earth from God's eyes. So I release any fear about the future, any worry about today, and I begin today and invite you also to just be the love of the one. It changes everything. Thank you, God. And so it is. Reverend Andy, we're so happy you're here.
It's always great to be here. Thank you so much for having me here. This is such a wonderful center, and Reverend Sue and Reverend Mary are just, you guys are so lucky to have them and so fortunate to have them. They work very hard in terms of this center. It's so great to see the choir going again, and so it's neat that since COVID ended, all these things are beginning to break loose in centers, you know, the fundraisers, the music and all that, the classes, and it's just really wonderful. So I have to start this talk, or what I'm going to share with you today, with a word that I'm not sure how to pronounce, and that always irritates me. And so Reverend Sue, when she got a hold of me about speaking, and she told me kind of the ground she wanted me to cover, which is the paradox, working with the paradox. And so she included a word there which was really interesting to me. And so I think it's Janician. It's Janisian. Anyway, Janician. And it's called a Janician process of creativity. And I never heard of that before, obviously. Couldn't pronounce it. And so I began to I started to do some research on that because it really caught my attention. And I found some work by a gentleman by the name of Dr. Robert Rothenberg. And he talked about creativity, and he talked about these ideas of working with the paradox. The paradox and creativity derived through curiosity and playfulness. I think that was really interesting. And he talked about the idea that one of his examples was Einstein in the theory of relativity. One of the things that was a big breakthrough for Einstein was to understand, and this is a rather kind of I don't know about this graphic, it's kind of disturbing in a way, but he said if someone had fallen off a very high building and was plunging to the ground, they would be simultaneously moving but also simultaneously still at the same time. And Einstein thought that was great, didn't think about what happens at the end of it, but that's kind of what bothered me. But and so to Dr. Rothenberg, what was interesting to him was not so much what Einstein discovered, but the fact that he discovered it. And so Rothenberg was really curious about that. What's this idea of what was able to open up for Einstein that allowed him to see something that he could not see? That's what Rothenberg thought was so interesting, to see something that you cannot see. And so he came to the conclusion that it's about curiosity and playfulness. And so this idea of going back to being a child, and I think that, when I think about curiosity, because in the work I do around addiction and things like that, one of the things that I try and encourage my clients to think about is returning to the child. Not the immaturity, not the, throwing mud against the wall or anything like that, but in terms of the curiosity and the playfulness, to return to that. Because sometimes as adults, we can become so rigid in our thinking. And what's really interesting to me about this is that Dr. Rothenberg, I assumed when I started reading his work, because it seemed to me to be very psychological, I assumed he was a PhD, and he is an MD. I thought that's really interesting. A man or a person of the hard sciences beginning to look at playfulness and creativity and curiosity. And so I read more of his work, and what I determined was that he, in working in the hard sciences, was trying to get himself and those of his colleagues to become more curious, more childlike, more playful, to be able to see the things they can't see. And as we know, what's really interesting in terms of ourselves, when we were kids, but also in being around children, is very often having imaginary friends, having imaginary places. I've seen children spend an entire afternoon in a backyard working in the world of imagination, the world of the unseen unicorns, the unseen people, the unseen places, and all those kinds of things. And in terms of watching their creativity and their imagination take over. And so when I was reading about this and studying what Reverend Sue had sent me, what opened up for me was the idea of shamanic practice. Now, shamanic is a word that's used by anthropology, and what it pertains to is a certain prototype or archetype of how the spiritual world is embraced, how it's opened up to, and the practices of looking at that aspect of ourselves, the spirit part of us, the soul part of us. And one of the things about shamanic practice the world over, and shamanic practice is ancient, some of the oldest practices in spirituality, But the world over, there's a lot of commonalities, and one of them that I find really interesting is that very often a shaman in a particular culture, when they go into doing spiritual work, in other words, they have a person in front of them or a situation in front of them that is looking for a spiritual resolution, a healing of some kind. What's really common is they will cover their eyes to where they can't see. And in culture to culture, that covering the eyes is very ritualized. It can be very ornate. It can be a very special practice for them to cover their eyes, that they show up in terms of being blind. In other words, to see something that they wouldn't normally see. Imagine that for a moment. To be in front of someone and say, I have an issue that I want to resolve, I want to heal, I want to move forward. And so that person in front of me covers their eyes so that they stop seeing me. And I think that that's incredibly interesting. Earnest Holmes, the founder of our movement, says, strive toward a perfect vision, cutting through all the appearances, feeling a deeper union with life, cutting through all the appearances, a greater sense of spirit, the seen and the unseen within all expressions. We cannot account for the seen without having faith in the unseen. And so in that way, what we know is that Holmes was familiar with the shamanic ideas as an archetype, as an idea, as a consciousness, to see the unseen and not to get caught up in appearances. That's what the shaman is trying to do. And so there is and we also know in shamanic practice, there is a playful quality about it. There is a curiosity about it. The shaman will talk about spirit journeys they take where they no longer have a title, they no longer have a place, they have transcended all of that, and they go into a world of wonder. And very often in shamanic practice, a shaman will go into a place and will encounter the root of discomfort, dis-ease, discord. We think about things maybe say like cancer, those kinds of things. And the shaman will interact with that and will be curious about that and have a conversation with it, whatever it may be. Again, seeing something that a lot of us don't see or have a revelation of some kind. Years ago, some time ago, within the last few years, I've told a little bit of this story, and I don't like to repeat myself. And so when I got the material from Reverend Sue, early in the week, I was going through it, and I was trying to sort of relate it to my own experiences. And I'm a very visual person, and I learn a lot from stories, and I learn a lot from I try and look at my own life as a story and other people's lives, and that's kind of how I make sense out of things. In terms of, you give me some, like intellectual, theological information, and I can listen to it and I can absorb it, but until I can actually turn it into something that's visual to me, I have a hard time, and so that's the corner that I turn. So my own story is that growing up, I had a challenging relationship with my father, and I know that he had a challenging relationship with me. And basically, later in age, what I discovered was he was a very quirky person. I'm a very quirky person, but our quirks didn't go together. We weren't like Legos, you know what I'm saying? Our quirks did not fit. And so we really didn't understand each other. And then as for myself, you become a teenager, an adolescent, a teenager, hormones kick in, and you become strong-willed, and you want to take on the world, and you want to find your own personality. And he didn't know what to do with this person. And, and I've always been pretty assertive and outgoing, and I can be kind of too much sometimes, And I remember him saying, like, you're too much, you're just too much, mellow out, right? And so one of the things I wanted to do as we were both aging is I wanted to repair our relationship. I wanted to have a relationship with him because I loved him deeply, and I know he loved me. But so we had, and our not getting along morphed into some bigger issues that. Neither one of us were very skilled at what we were doing, and we were pretty dysfunctional. And so I wanted to heal that. And My father's skill set, my father was someone who had a very engineering mind. He worked for PG&E for 35 years, and electricity and mathematics and engineering and all that. And he thrived in that world, and that wasn't necessarily my world. And so, and the world that I went into, obviously, I went into counseling. I work with people. I go into ministry. I'm a spirituality freak. I'm a psychology freak, And so, we operated in two worlds. And so what I realized was, I think that I wanted to initiate this in some way. I wanted to be able to find common ground with him. And so we were going along. My dad lived in Arizona for many years, and I would go down there from time to time, and it was really great. I could go down by myself. He was married at that time, and his wife really allowed my dad and I to spend time together, which I appreciated. And so I tried to initiate conversations and put him at ease and to just decide I wanted to find out about him. And so we did that for a few years, and I found out some things, and he could actually reach back and look into my life a little bit. But then my dad went into the challenge of dementia, and his dementia began to escalate rather quickly. And so I went down there, and I found it kind of the way forward was a little bit more challenging. I had to be a little bit more skilled at it. And then finally, he reached a stage where, according to his wife, she called me one time and said, because I was planning on going down there, and she goes, well, I don't know if you want to come down or not, because there's a good chance he won't know who you are. And I said, well, yeah, of course I want to come down. So I went down there, and so I thought to myself, what am I going to do? Because my vision was someone in dementia. That was my vision. He's my father and I'm his son, and if he doesn't know me, if he doesn't know that relationship, then what can I do? That's what I saw. And I didn't know how to overcome that. So I sought out a friend of mine who I knew had experience around dementia, and she gave me some advice, and I'm sure a lot of you in this room have worked a lot in that area, and I don't know if you would agree with this advice, but this is what she told me, and I want to talk about the advice she gave me. And so basically she said, go down there and don't try and correct him, don't try and teach him, don't try and sculpt him into knowing something he doesn't know, because he's going to become very frustrated and it's going to come between you. And I said, well, what do I do? And she said, go down there and go into his world, no matter where he goes. It's like, I don't know how many of you have been involved in improv. Improv says always say yes, And so the acting teacher will say, okay, I want you to have a shoe store, and I want you to be the customer. And always say yes. And so the customer walks into the shoe store. Welcome to my shoe store. What can I do for you? Do you have any chocolate ice cream? And so, yes, I do, and you go on about that, and I actually have it matches a pair of shoes, and would you like a handbag that looks like chocolate? And you go, yes, and yes, and yes, and yes, and you go and go and go. And that's what she was saying. She said, just say yes. And then she said, I was kind of like uptight about it. She said, Andy, just have fun with it. Don't be attached to it. Just see what happens. Just hang out. And go into his world, no matter where it goes. So I went down there, and I remember, I don't know about you, but when I'm really uptight about something and I have a trip somewhere, it's like the shortest trip ever, because it's like, okay, I'll have plenty of time to think of my way down. So I flew down. It seems like we got there in 5 minutes, you know what I'm saying? And, and I got and I thought, okay, I'll renting the car will take a while, but no, they just got me right through, darn it, So, the traffic was great driving out to his house. I mean, it was like I was just like catapulted into it so fast. I was freaked out. I didn't have, but in terms of the synchronicities, because one of the things about me is I can get way too into my own head. I overthink everything, right? Left to my own devices, I'm a control freak, right? And I just overthink everything. And I mean, I've had conversations that have run over my mind, for years afterwards. I mean, I don't even know where the person is anymore, and I'm still rolling over conversations, right? That's the self I'm trying to stay away from. So I was catapulted in, came to the front door. My dad's wife answered the door, came in, and I see that my father's sitting there, and so I came in and said, "Hey, how you doing?" And he looked at me, and I could tell by the look in his eyes he didn't know who I was. And Barbara, his wife, introduced me. This is Andy, and even that there wasn't like a sparkle. There wasn't the electricity. So I came and sat down, and he was uncomfortable having me there. He wasn't sure what I was doing there. So I tried to ingratiate myself to him, and I said I was really glad to be with him, and I wanted to just spend some time with him. I was going to be there for 3 days. And so at some point, he, in his own mind, decided that I was somehow a family member, and maybe a distant cousin he may have seen at a barbecue 30 years ago or something. And so we kind of started there. And maybe as this distant cousin, I was related to my mom. Now, my mom passed away, now it's been almost 40 years ago, and my mom didn't see 50. And so she passed away a really long time ago. And so somehow I may have been a distant cousin to my mom somehow, and I only know that because he invoked her name in this, And so yes. It was great because he didn't settle on a name. I didn't have to come up with one. That was great. I mean, I don't know. Somehow in his mind, I didn't need a name, but he just kind of knew. And so what was great was that set the groundwork for over the next few days when we would talk. It was like he would ask me if I knew people in the family. And at first I say yes. And so I say yes. And so that was kind of a conversation killer. So I decided to break the rule a little bit. And I said, I'm not sure I ever met them. Oh my God, that was a gold mine. So my dad began to describe all these people and his relationship with them. And some of them were peripheral people, distant cousins, uncles, aunts, people I really didn't know very much. So it was kind of interesting. But then I began to notice the circle was coming in. And it came into his mother, who had taken her own life when he was a child. It came into his father, who was my grandfather, who my father struggled with as well. It came into my 2 uncles, and when one of my uncles, when my father lost his mom, my father kind of had to start taking care of him because my grandfather was too busy playing cards in Catalina. And I started to come down. And pretty soon it was about some people I'd never met before, a set of grandparents who loved him dearly and a set of grandparents who tended to be abusive towards him. And I began to hear those stories, and I began to experience him as a child. And I began to be able to put together in my own mind some of his core issues, some of his traumas that had hung on. I began to recognize things from my own experiences with him for life. I go, oh, I get it. I get it now. I get why this is important. I get why he struggles with this. I began to take in this information. The circle comes in a little bit closer. Then my sister's name is Jeanette, and he said, did you ever know Jeanette, my daughter? And I said, no, I never knew her. Tell me about her. And I found out what a precious relationship they had and how close they were in ways that I didn't even know. I know that my sister was always closer to my dad, but just some of the things that he found precious about her and she found precious about him. And then came in a little closer, and then he finally asked me, he used my mom's name. Did you know Evelyn? She was my wife. And no, tell me about her. And I learned about their courtship. I learned about their early marriage. I learned about their own struggles. I learned about the things that he he was ashamed of in terms of being inadequate or not the person he wanted to be. And so about halfway through the last day I was there before I was going to leave, he finally said, "Did you ever know Andy?" I said, "No, I never knew him." So he began to talk about, well, that's my son, and he talked about this relationship, and he talked about how much he struggled with the relationship and how he didn't understand Andy, and he wanted Andy to love him, and he wanted Andy to care for him, but he didn't really understand him, and he wished he'd understood him. And he talked about some mistakes he felt like he made in parenting and how much he cared about him, and he was proud of what he did with his life, but he didn't really understand it. I don't know why he did that, but I'm proud of him. He seems to be pretty good at that, And basically, what was really amazing was that by putting on the blinders, by choosing not to see what was in front of me, taking the advice of this person was, I had an entire world open up to me. Metaphorically speaking, like a shaman running around in there and building relationships. And so it came time for me to leave, and I was standing at the front door, and like I think is true of some dementia people, there's this thing about touch. You have to be very careful, And so I wanted to hug him, but he, being old school, he kind of, he was willing to shake my hand. I think that was the first time I touched him in 3 days, so we shook hands and held. And he said, "I don't think I got your name. What's your name?" I said, "I'm Andy." "Oh, okay." He says, "Well, you seem like a nice fellow, and I'm glad you visited. It was nice to get to know you, And so, the paradox, two conflicting notions that somehow there is a commonality. A father and a son who cannot be a father and a son simultaneously, like what Einstein said. Simultaneously a relationship, simultaneously not a relationship. But within that, not only is there a greater understanding, there's a healing that takes place from a paradox. What's interesting in the reading that was earlier, when we talk about oneness and unity, there is that moving away from us and them. Okay? And that's interesting. And I agree with that, especially when we look at our world today, we look at our society, we look at, whether it's Israel and Palestinians or Republicans and Democrats. And I'm not trying to minimize either one, I'm not trying to be cute about that. We see all kinds of paradox. We see all kinds of division. And so what I think that what I learned from examining the paradox was finding what is the unity around them and us, known and unknown, accepted and unaccepted, seen and unseen. Can we hold on to accepted and unaccepted and find the paradox? Now, Dr. Rothenberg would say the way we do that is to become enough of the child, playful and curious enough to go into what we may think is unacceptable. I think that's unacceptable, but you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go in there, and I'm going to show up, and I'm going to be curious, and I'm going to say yes to whatever I find in there. I'm going to say yes and see what can be revealed to me. When we come back to the Earnest Holmes piece, the idea of the seen and the unseen within all expressions. If we have a them and us, understand that them is having a hard time seeing us as us is having a hard time seeing them. And what happens if we can move into that place? All right. So why don't we put a bow on this with a prayer? So, okay. All right. As we come together in consciousness this morning, I am so grateful that when we say that God is truly all there is, God is truly all there is, that includes the paradox. That includes the us and the them, the accepted and the unaccepted, the child and the parent, whatever it may be. That through curiosity, through playfulness, through openness, we can discover all of the nooks and crannies when we say that God is truly all there is. There is no place where God is not. And I'm grateful for that. Because I know that as we look for understanding, as we look for healing, as we look for building bridges, as we look for solving issues and bringing the light to challenges, the idea of God being all there is within the paradox is the driving force behind all of that. God is, we are, and that's all there is. And so in my gratitude for this, I let my word go, knowing that it's so. And so it is. Okay. Thank you very much, guys.
I'd like to invite the ushers forward, please. You know, Reverend Andy, that was awesome. And I'm going to take that message to my caregiver support group. I think they'll really get a lot out of it. All right. Somebody clean the podium off. Oh, here it is. As we prepare to give our offering this morning, our hearts are just filled with love and appreciation, since what is offered here is for our spiritual well-being. We're filled with gratitude, knowing that life stays in balance because we know it's true. As we give, we receive. I give thanks for the blessed donations received in the offering this morning and those that come in during the week. I know each dollar supports this spiritual family in many ways as we grow together, pray together, and give thanks for all that this center has been blessed with today and always. And so it is. So myself and Shirley and Christy will be by the bell if you would like a prayer after service. And there'll be some wonderful food in the social hall provided by the choir. Did you have any other music? You do? All right, let's have it.
Don't stop us now.
Ring